Tilea's Troubles, Part 138. An Estalian Income. On the road south of Portomaggiore. They were leaving the realm of Portomaggiore, having stayed the night at an inn near Scalia. When they disembarked at the city's docks late in the afternoon the previous day, Ottaviano had insisted they begin their journey south immediately, rather than linger. He said they needed no distractions, and besides, a gentle ride until nightfall would suitably stretch their mounts' legs and so ready them for the longer journey ahead in the morrow. Baccio had not argued, something he later regretted on discovering the somewhat humble lodgings in the inn. Scalia and its surroundings had yet to recover since being ravaged by the Sartosans only months before, while the city itself had been untouched. The road would take them all the way to Luchini, something their pursers could not persuade the ship's captain to do. Accompanied by 3 mounted guards, one of whom carried a guidon bearing the company's emblem, the 2 of them rode at the fore. "What did the priest say?" asked Baccio. It seemed to have slipped Ottaviano's mind that he had yet to speak to his friend concerning what he had learned from the priest he met that morning. "Oh, he told me that General Jacometi is indeed coming to Luchini," Ottaviano said. "Coming? So he's not there yet?" "Maybe not," said Ottaviano. "Some of his soldiers have landed, but the general himself had yet to arrive when the priest left." "When did the priest leave?" "About a week ago, so I suppose the general ship could have docked since then." Baccio grunted acknowledgement. "Why do you think he advertised his intentions so broadly? It can't be wise to let one's enemies know your movements." "Maybe he wants the Sartosans to know," suggested Ottaviano. "All the better to dissuade them from further despoiling Luchini. They're unlikely to raid if they think they might be caught by his army. This way, his protection begins before he himself even arrives." "So you think he is coming to help his cousin, in the young king's time of need?" asked Baccio. Ottaviano snorted. "If that's what he intended, he's left it a little late. Luchini has been grievously wounded. The priest said that compared to Luchini, Portomaggiore had got off lightly." "He was probably distracted by his own affairs in Estalian," said Baccio. "He was paid with land, while the Compagnia was given gold. Ruling a newly pacified realm like Sorsona must keep a fellow busy." "I suppose so," agreed Ottaviano. "But he could have deputised, if he'd really wanted to help." He glanced over at his friend. "You know, Baccio, when the Sorsonan war ended, I think Jacometi got the best prize. I think that's why General Mazzolini was so happy to accept the rule of Campagrotta in lieu of pay. Jacometi had done well with his lands and titles, while our Compagnia's pile of gold just diminished to naught. General Jacometi has income pouring in every season. No need to fight for it." "Huh!" exclaimed Baccio. "He might have been happy in Sorsona, but ruling Campagrotta didn't work out so well for us." "No," said Ottaviano sombrely. "It didn't." Both fell silent for a while, each aware that the other was most likely suffering a similar cascade of memories concerning the flight from the poisoned realm of Campagrotta. Seeking a thought to cheer himself up, all Baccio could summon was that he was glad to be off the ship. He had never attained sea legs, which made shipboard life a misery. Riding leisurely, and on such a pleasant morning, was much preferable. "So, General Jacometi is now a nobleman, an Estalian Vizconde, with more than half of Sorsona to rule," he said. "Aye, that he is," said Ottaviano. "Best call him your grace or some such when we meet him." "Then why doesn't he just sit tight and revel in his newfound prosperity? Why return to Tilea, especially now when vampires and brutes have been replaced by Sartosans and ratmen, to make the wars never-ending?" "Perhaps he loves his cousin," suggested Ottaviano, "and hopes to put things right in Luchini. It's commonly said that the young king has returned somewhat damaged from his long captivity. It's likely he needs all the help he can get." "What do you mean, damaged?" asked Baccio. "Apparently he's not all there. The Sartosans tormented him, scared him out of his wits. As for his realm, it's been robbed and razed, then robbed again twice more when the Sartosans returned to pick at the bones. If ever there was a land that needed help, it's Luchini. The people are likely just as distressed as their monarch." "But Jacometi is a condottiere, who will expect full payment. This, surely, Luchini cannot give him." "Ha!" laughed Ottaviano. "If Luchini has nothing to give, Then why have we been sent to negotiate with them? It's still a kingdom, Baccio. Recently plundered, aye, but surely able to pay for a few mercenaries. Poor kings, even mad kings, can find money when they have to, even if their subjects must suffer as a consequence. Well, I doubt His Royal Majesty has many soldiers of his own left demanding pay, said Baccio. But if he is paying Jacometi, there'll be nothing left for us. Ah, but Baccio, is the Vizconde demanding payment? He has his Estalian income. Perhaps he's fond of his cousins, the king and the duke, and feels obliged to help them in their time of need. You keep saying that, but he's a bastard's great-grandson, who only has a title and estates because the Estalian king gave them to him. I presume he feels anything for a Tilean cousin who inherited what he could not. Besides, I reckon that hunting, hawking, feasting and sleeping on feather beds in a warm chamber is the kind of life that would satisfy anyone. Ottaviano grinned. Maybe he's found a life of ease tedious and yearns to return to a life of adventure. Not likely, argued Baccio. If he's coming back to Tilea, then it's because he wants something more than mere adventure. Well, he's no stranger to the Luchinian royal court. He grew up there, was like an older brother for the king. So I say again that there's every reason to suspect it is love of his cousin that draws him home. Or, said Baccio, he aims to supplant his cousin, take Luchini's crown for himself. Being king is better than being a Vizconde, surely. As a cousin, he has royal blood in his veins. All princes should be wary of blood cousins arriving with armies. They have both the might and potential right. Remember, the king and Jacometi's great-grandfathers fought over the throne in the War of the Bastards. Who's to say who had the better claim? Who's to say the matter is settled in perpetuity? Such a contest might easily re-emerge down the line. I don't think King Ferronso has much of a choice. Desperate times call for desperate measures. The realm of Luchini lies wounded, perhaps mortally, all while its king is caught in a waking nightmare. What's left of our Compagnia is surely not sufficient to provide all the protection Luchini needs. We don't know how many of General Giacometi's Compagnia del Guanto stuck around to serve a Vizconde instead of a condottieri. But now he has Solsona to raise new recruits from, he can replace any lost strength. Maybe grow his army. Being a Vizconde means he now has a lot more pieces to play with. Baccio frowned. If what Macario told me about the gauntlets is true, then Luchini is in for a nasty shock. Giacometi's dogs of war could teach the pirates a thing or two about the art of plundering. That might be so, Ottaviano acknowledged. But General Jacometi is not at all shy about hanging his own men for plundering without orders. Still, Luchini doesn't have to worry quite yet, because it's not the gauntlets who's landed, but a bunch of his Solsonans. Ah, well that could explain everything. If they're the same Solsonan soldiers he fought during the war, then sending them elsewhere seems like common sense to me. Why would he keep old enemies around? I bet he sent them here just to be rid of them. Except he himself is expected to arrive soon, and he's hardly likely to exile himself. Baccio could not really argue with that, but he wanted to know more about the soldiers. These Solsonans, are they militia or mercenaries? He asked. Who knows? The priest just said they were handgunners, liveried green, white and red with an ensign of the same. Unless the gauntlets have been adding green cloth to their doublets, then all we know is the arrivals of Solsonan. Baccio's brow furrowed, as he realised he was beginning to feel nervous about going to Luchini. It makes me wonder, he said. If Luchini has Giacometi's help, both his old company and these new soldiers, then why are we seeking employment there? Sounds like they'll soon have a surfeit of soldiers. We're seeking employment anywhere right now, Baccio. Beggars can't be choosers. Besides, we don't know how many of Giacometi's old company stayed in his service. They can't have been happy when he took lands and titles instead of gold. It's likely a good number of them went off to seek employment elsewhere. As for his new Solsonan soldiers, if they are mere militia, then their usefulness on the field of battle could be limited. What with all he had been through, Baccio was not convinced. I bet he's lost none of the gauntlets. All our boys were happy enough with the thought of favoured citizenship in Campagrotta. After the bloody wars in Solsona, why wouldn't Giacometi's lads not be just as keen to take their ease? Maybe they were. Right now there's no knowing what strength Jacometi has to offer. But if he has insufficient for Luchini's needs, then there could still be a place for us. We're not as expensive as we used to be, Baccio. What with the fact that there are a lot fewer of us now. Besides, the Compagnia fought alongside Jacometi's gauntlets in Estalia, winning victory together. It'll be like old comrades reunited." Baccio laughed. "Ah, I couldn't count the number of stories I've heard about the strife between the companies in Solsona. On the same side, yes, but friends? Hardly. Besides, Jacometi's men are nearly all northerners, loud and proud at best, downright villainous at worst. We've our own share of northerners in the Compagnia, Baccio, and none are worse than the worst Tileans. Besides, Jacometi, despite his Estalian title, is Tilean, and he's the one giving the orders." "Aye, he is Tilean, with famous ancestors. I still think he could have ambitions to be king." "Not every lord is a usurper, you know," said Ottaviano. "Maybe," admitted Baccio. Then he remembered something. "Jacometi was governor of Capelli years back, wasn't he? He might have ambitions there." "Ambition is the right word for it if he does. He'd have to fight the army of the VMC to retrieve that particular office. Not a soul in Luchini would want to start such a war right now." "What they want, even the king, is not necessarily what Jacometi wants," argued Baccio. "No," said Ottaviano, "that makes no sense. The governorship isn't hereditary, just an office once gifted him by the king's uncle, Duke Ercole. It was back when the duke was regent. The king was a child, and Jacometi was just old enough to be restless and in need of experience. Governorship of Capelli was thought a suitable apprenticeship. But now he has won a much better prize. Half of Solsona is 5 times as large as the whole of Capelli. I reckon it's far more likely Jacometi is here to exact revenge for his cousin on the Sartosans, and profit from doing it in any way he can. He's got right on his side, so no one in Tilea will complain, no matter how brutal his plundering." Baccio rolled his eyes. "Well, if that's true, and we are to be hired by Luchini, then we'll be back aboard a ship within a week or so. I'm not sure my stomach can take it." "Or," said Ottaviano, "if we are hired, perhaps I can persuade our new employers that it is best we remain in Luchini to make preparations for the company's arrival, while someone else is sent as messenger." "Aye, Otto," said Baccio keenly. "Let's do that."